Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a collage fodder video for you because some of you requested watching a longer video on how I made these lovely colorful leaves that you can perfectly use as focal images for your art journal pages or other projects. You just saw all the prints I've picked out to create the leaves, and the ones I'm having here are some I find a bit boring or I don't like that much, and so I decided to use those. This might be also nice for some leaves, and I think I want to use those to clean off the plate later in the process, and yeah, just to not waste too many papers, especially when I have prints that I'm not so happy with. I can just add to them. I'm starting off with a clean Gelli plate and I'm using black acrylic paint, and I picked a opaque paint, not a transparent one, because I want to get a crisp outline around my leaves. I'm cleaning my brayer on the back side of Gelli prints because I like to have double-sided papers. I know that's sometimes hard to pick which side you want to use, but it saves a lot of paper, and also I don't have to have so much space to store all my papers. I'm laying the masks of the Sketchy Leaves stencils onto the wet paint on the plate, and then I pick one of my pretty colorful papers and lay it onto the Gelli plate. I give everything a very good press so the paint has the chance to transfer perfectly. And here I'm getting these lovely leaf images that I'm going to cut out later. I'm setting this aside to dry, and here I have these beautiful, beautiful prints of the leaves, and I don't want to waste them, so I'm printing them to these Gelli prints where I'm not happy with, and these will make really lovely backgrounds that can be used on cards or for collages. For this one, I just laid the paper down because I expected the paint was still wet enough to transfer, and I really like the result of that. Cutting this paper down will give me a lovely paper for all kinds of projects. There is still some black paint left on the plate, and I want to clean it off before I make the next leaves because I don't want to have black speckles on the leaves. So I'm just using a light color, and I'm going to print this image. I always need some neutral papers, and I usually don't have that many because I prefer printing colorful prints. So this is going to be a lovely neutral collage paper. And what's also nice, because I've used the Gelli print to make my leaves, there was already a pattern on that paper, and this created a resist effect on the plate, and you will be able to see that pattern also on the cleanup prints, which makes the backgrounds even more interesting. I let that sit a little bit, so make sure that everything will stick to my paper and will come off the plate, because today I don't want to have any excess on the plate. Usually I really like when there are some color speckles on the plate for the next prints when I'm doing backgrounds, but I want to have some really clean and colorful, crisp, leafy images. And here you can see that pattern that was on the Gelli print where I made the leaves from, these dots. And these are also on that print because they build kind of a resist, and there was more paint left in these areas on the plate. Now my Gelli plate is clean, and I'm adding another layer of black opaque acrylic paint to my Gelli plate. And I'm just doing the same process as I just did to show you that you can create super different kind of leaves depending on the print you choose. I picked another colorful jelly print and put it on the plate. I give it a really good press to make sure that all the paint transfers very well around my images. I really love how these turned out. They are so shiny and bright against the black background. Now it's time again to clean the jelly plate, and I'm going to use, I believe, a neon pink background that was also quite boring to just get a ghost print of these images. And again, this will create a lovely background, especially with all the resist from the previous print. That gives a really nice, interesting texture. Again, I'm using some more paint to clean off the jelly plate completely, and I wanted to mix kind of a neon soft pink background. I'm mixing it with a Naples yellow greenish. That just gives a really soft and pastel look to the neon pink, and it also gives me some opacity for the background. Again, I give it some time to make sure I get everything off the plate so that there are no black fragments left. Next, I am going to work with white paint. This is also something that works quite nice, and I'm using the Schminke Primacryl White because it's super opaque. It's a fluid paint. That means it might bead up on the jelly plate. That can be kind of a problem. Mine is beading up a bit, especially when I add the second layer. What helps is if you clean your jelly plate with a little bit of dish soap, and then the beading is not as strong as it's on a dirty plate, but I don't mind in this case. I think you can use any other white paint, it just should be a quite opaque paint. And I'm just doing the same that I've done with the black acrylic. I cover the whole plate, I lay my masks on top, and then I'm pulling the print onto a colorful and lovely paper. I picked a not so light color paper. I picked one that was a little bit darker, so the contrast between the color and the white border is a bit higher. And again, I'm giving everything a good press to make sure the paint transfers well onto the paper. Now with these leaves, I have that beautiful pattern on the plate, and I want to get a really good print of these. So I do not take a ghost print. I wait a little bit for these images to dry, and then I go on top with a layer of acrylic paint and just pull a print. Well, I don't let this dry very long. Let's say about a minute or so, just to make sure that the white paint does not smear under my next layer of paint. And I decided to pick a neon pink together with a turquoise green. I'm just laying a second piece of paper on top because I did not line up the paper very well, and there was a small border at the bottom where the Gelli Plate was showing up, and I don't want to get a messy hand. And again, this is a lovely piece to use as a background. Of course, you could cut out the images and then use them as focal points, but I think they might not look as good when they are cut out. So I am going to use them as a background paper. Let's do it again. Make another print with white paint. This time the paint is speeding up even more than before, but it's not a real problem. That's a bit annoying about these liquid paints, that the beading is so intense with them, because I have the Della Rowney fluid acrylics and they are so beautiful, and I would really love to use them more for jelly printing, but sometimes it's quite hard because of that beading effect they have. But as I said, it helps a little bit to clean the Gelli Plate from time to time with a little bit of mild dish soap. Here I'm printing the next leaves. It's always kind of a surprise what's coming out, because it just changes the look of a paper when you add so much of another color. But also these ones are quite pretty. And again, I'm cleaning off the plate now with another layer of acrylic paint, which will give me also a lovely background that can be used on any kind of different project, like cards or collages, art journal pages, or junk journal pages. I will now make a flip through all the prints that we have done today, and then we are going to finish up our leaves. I will cut them out off camera, of course, and show you what else I do to them to make them stand out and a bit more unique. There are some lovely papers. I really like that texture of the resist that I got from the previous Gelli print. I already explained that the patterns just create different kinds of resist on the next print, on the next plate, and there is just some more color left, which will then be transferred to the background papers. And here you can see all the leaves. I've cut them out already, but I left a small border all around the images. So I have kind of an outline in either white or black, depending on the color I have used. Here you can see the white outline a little bit better. What I now really like to do is add more texture to these leaves so they are not that boring. Some of them I feel are nice just as they are, and some of them can need a little bit of texture. And what I love doing is using some text stamps on top of them. All kinds of text stamps will work, I would say. Also, other pattern stamps might work quite interesting. I'm using StazOn ink because I'm working on acrylic paint, and StazOn dries quite quickly. Other inks might take some time or even would not dry, and that's quite annoying when you prepare some lovely images and then you have a wet ink that smears. Here I'm using a text stamp from our Mix It Up #4 stamp set. It's one of my favorites as a background stamp, and I just fill the whole leaf. I picked another stamp. It's the Art Defined stamp, and it also has some nice text on it, just a different font, and that's quite nice when you have different kind of texts on your leaves. Next, I'm picking one of the word blocks from the Mix a Sentiment stamp set. I really like it, not only for the words to cut them out and use as titles for my projects. I also love these stamps as background images, and they are perfect to be stamped onto these leaves. Now let's work on the white leaves a little bit, and you can use either white embossing powder or white acrylic paint to stamp them. With paint you will not get a perfect crisp image. With embossing you will get quite a crisp image and also some dimension. You maybe could also use some white ink, but I don't know if there is a white ink pad that will dry on acrylics and that will give you a good coverage. Here you see me stamping the words with Versamark ink. That's the embossing ink, and it will make the powder stick to the leaves. I'm using just normal white embossing powder, and I will cover the leaves and then heat set them with my heat tool. I will speed up this part of the video a little bit so you don't get bored. I really like how these leaves turned out. I think both are super nice, the black ones and also the white ones. I think next might be interesting to use gold. Just to get a gold outline is a bit difficult because gold is a transparent color, but I thought about trying laying a layer of gold onto the Gelli Plate, then a layer of, let that dry, then a layer of white, then put down the stencils or the masks and then make the print. But it might be a bit difficult to get everything off the plate, but I will try it. Here I'm experimenting with the white paint and just stamp with this. And I applied it to a smaller Gelli Plate to use this as kind of a stamp pad. And the previous one I have stamped with our Grungy Swirl stamp that is also on the Mix It Up #1 stamp set, and it made a really nice pattern on my leaf. Now I'm going to try it with some of these words. I think I'm using the Mix It Up #4 stamp, and you will see that words are not perfect with acrylic paint, but texture wise it worked quite nice. I'm coming to an end with this video. I will share some photos in the end of the finished leaves. You will also find photos over on my blog, and in the near future I will share projects where I'm using those as focal images. You will find them regularly over on our shop blog. There is a link in the video description. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you are inspired to create. I wish you a lovely weekend. Bye.